From the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to Canada. Canada is all set to get a new Prime Minister soon after Justin Trudeau stepped down. And the latest to join the race to become Canada's next PM is someone who has already created history. Liberal Party's Ruby Dhalla was the first woman of Indian origin to be elected to the House of Commons in 2004. She went on to get re-elected in 2006 and 8, and now she's hoping to make history once again, this time as Canada's first woman of colour to serve as the Prime Minister. At the very start of her campaign, Ruby has promised to send back illegal immigrants and bring Canada's stature back on the world stage. Born to Punjabi immigrants in Canada's Winnipeg, Ruby has a diverse background. She's a politician right now, but she's been a model and an actor. She's also an award-winning hotelier who has been a chiropractor as well. Ruby Dhalla joins us today on Global Mirror to talk about her campaign and the Indo-Canada ties. Ruby, good evening. Namaskar. Thank you very much for speaking with us on Mirror Now. Let me start with asking you, you're so many things. You're a politician, you're a model, you're an actor. You announced your participation in the race quite late, which was just before the deadline. What is it that prompted you to now take on, or at least race, and participate in that race of becoming the next Prime Minister of Canada?
I think I took a look at all of the candidates that were in the race and my supporters from all across the country. I had many people calling me, and they wanted to have a face that was in the race to become the leader of the Liberal Party and the next Prime Minister of Canada, that was a fresh face, that had a fresh vision and had fresh ideas. Because all of the other candidates that were in the race at that time had a connection with Trudeau and the current administration. Some of them served as ministers, as MPs, or as advisors. And when I entered the race, I was the only one, and is the only one currently, that has not been affiliated with the current administration. In addition to that, as a doctor of chiropractic, I have great insight, into the healthcare crisis that our country is facing, where people are having to wait for hours and hours, in hospitals, and it has taken, months and months for them to get access to specialist appointments. And as a self-made businesswoman, I also had great insight into the many challenges that, business people and entrepreneurs face, and the challenges that they face both in creating jobs and the overtaxation. And then, as a 3-time elected member of parliament, I have great experience in the legislative and parliamentary process and the experience to be able to navigate through many of the challenges. Also, having worked on the world stage with, many international, countries, I also have great insight into perspective of what we need to do for our country here in Canada to ensure that we are competitive and that we continue to invite innovation and continue to ensure the prosperity of Canadians in Canada. So when we took a look at sort of the whole package, from healthcare, from business, from being a legislator to our international experience, I thought, along with my team all across Canada, that it would be a great opportunity to put my name forward for the leadership of our party and for Canada's next Prime Minister.
Your stance on illegal immigration, Ruby, comes at a time when there is a sentiment that is prevailing against illegals. How do you plan to tackle that?
Well, I myself am the daughter of immigrant parents. My mom left India in 1972 to come to Canada, and she left a very comfortable life, but she came to Canada for the future of her children. And I was born and raised in, a city called Winnipeg, which is in the center of Canada. And I don't think my mom ever would have even imagined that when she immigrated to Canada in 1972, that her daughter would one day be running, to become Canada's next Prime Minister. And I think that's just a reflection of the Canadian dream. And when we take a look at my mom's story of, being an immigrant to Canada, and we take a look at the journeys and stories of so many immigrants across Canada, we are a country that has been built on the hard work, on the aspirations, on the passion, the vision, the determination of millions of immigrants. My stand that I have taken is not against immigration. It is against people that have come to Canada illegally, It is also against those who are living in Canada currently illegally. And I have stated that those people will be deported. We need to clamp down on illegal immigration. We also need to clamp down on human traffickers. It is an injustice to those people, that are being human trafficked. And it is also an injustice to those that are living in our country. So I think that when we take a look at the policy, this type of message, will send a message to everyone that if you want to come to Canada, there are many legal routes to do so, whether you come through family reunification or you come here, as an economic investor, or you come, for the purposes of studying or on a work permit. But entering the country illegally, staying illegally, or if you're a human trafficker, you're going to be deported.
That is, of course, and the kind of promise that you're making as far as illegal immigration is concerned has also earned you the tag of Lady Donald Trump. But from illegal immigration, Ruby, let's talk about the Khalistani challenge. And India has been very concerned about it since several years, how it has been perpetrating on Canadian soil. Khalistani support by Canada has been an issue in the Indo-Canada ties. But what is your stance on Canada harboring Khalistani extremists?
Currently, as I've shared, I'm running for leadership of the Liberal Party and to become Canada's next Prime Minister. And my campaign is really focused on issues that are impacting, so many Canadian families, whether it's in regards to housing or increased crime rates or, the issue of increased gas prices. We're currently facing a big tariff, taxation threat from the United States. So my issue is really focused on Canada and Canadians. But what I can say is that when we take a look at our current situation here in Canada, we are, as I shared, getting threatened with a tariff tax of 25% by the President of the United States. And having worked, internationally and globally and being, very aware of this particular issue that is going on, the one thing that I have said that as, Prime Minister of our country, I would work to ensure that Canada also builds strategic alliances and partnerships with other countries in the world so that Canada does not become beholden, or dependent upon any one country, so that when you do get threats like that you actually have, other countries that you have created and strengthened your economic and your trade relationships. And India would be one of those countries, in which that would play a very, very important role in creating those relationships and strengthening those partnerships. Because when you take a look at Canada, many of the immigrants have come from India. Everyone has roots in India. So we have one of the largest Indian diasporas outside of India living in Canada. And there's a great deal of attachment that many of those people have, regardless if they've just come, a year ago, or even if they've been here for 50 years. Many of them all hold India in their heart. We need to, take that experience they have, that insight they have, and work also with many of the pension funds that we have in Canada that are currently doing business and have invested billions of dollars, in India. We need to take and utilize those experiences, those relationships that people have to ensure that we build and strengthen, strong trade ties, not only with India, but also other countries, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE and China and Europe, because I think that all of our countries will be better off for it, but Canada, we will help to ensure, greater prosperity and competitiveness and the creation of jobs in our country.
Ruby, you're fighting for the Liberal Party as part of the Liberal Party, but you're also accused of being too conservative in your ideology, in the kind of promises that you make. How do you answer those allegations against you?
Well, I never, entered the race to be a seat warmer. I have entered the race, and we're making history, first of all, because I am one of the first, women of color, one of the first immigrants that is ever vying for the leadership of the Liberal Party and also to become Canada's next Prime Minister. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I have worked my way up. I have been with my party since the age of 14 years. I have dedicated my life to public service. I have knocked on, thousands of doors, worked on hundreds of campaigns, and I haven't been in politics elected in an official capacity in the last 10 years because in the last 10 years, I spent my time and my efforts and my energy, not only helping individuals through philanthropy, but I've actually spent the last 10 years, contributing and building and growing our family business. And as a result of that, I have my pulse on the people. I am in tune with what average Canadians are going through. So while some people may think that these, particular policies or announcements are very right of, center, one of my goals and announcements that I have made is that I want to bring our party back towards the center of where we were before. And the policies and the announcements that I am coming out with have been in consultation with many Canadians across this country, with many business owners across this country, and many individuals. And that's why I think it is so important to have a leader, to have a prime minister who's really in touch with the people that you are there to be a voice for.
Okay, my last question to you, Ruby. There are, of course, several front runners along with you who are vying for the prime ministerial position, whether it's Chrystia Freeland or Mark Carney. How would you then describe that you have an advantage over your competitors in this race?
A, that I'm not a lifelong politician. B, I'm not looking for a job. I've come from a very successful, background, and I am doing this because I'm passionate about my country. I love my country, and I am in tune with the average Canadian. And third, for the candidates that are running, I haven't been involved with the current administration. So I'm like this fresh face, and I'm here to talk about fresh ideas. I'm here to ensure that we have dialogue, we have a discussion, we have a debate, and, within our party, which is like a family, and we have a debate within the country of the direction that we need to take our country in, because what has been happening over the last 10 years has certainly not been working. So I think that advantage comes from, not needing a job, but doing this out of love for our country and to ensure that the voices of average Canadians are heard. And I also think of not being involved, in the last 10 years with a current administration. You're literally coming in as an outsider into the race, and that's what people, I believe, are looking for.
All right, we'll leave it there. Ruby, thank you very much for speaking with us on Global Mirror. Of course, all our best wishes to you in this race. Hope the best man or woman wins in this race to the Prime Minister's office in Canada. But thank you very much to you, Ruby, for speaking with us. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap on Global Mirror. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Up next is Sneha Koshi with Beyond the Headline.